Welcome to episode 81 of The Redirect. Today we're talking about all the ways that SEO and public relations intersect. And I'm Adrienne Wallace, of course, your host, and I have a new guest with us on the pod, Delaney MacKenzie. And we're chatting about headlines for public relations to SERPs and like how these things intersect and all the goodness that PR can bring to SEO. And so thank you for joining me, Delaney. I'm really excited to talk a little bit about your recent visit to SEO, Women in Tech SEO Fest in Portland, back in April here, and what that presentation was like. So welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I had a great time in Portland. It was WTF's first time doing their conference in that city. So that was really great to be part of the first year, having a presence there. And I was talking about all things how PR and SEO overlap. And I was surprised when I asked the room how many people either have worked in PR or currently do. I would say at least half of the room raised their hand. So we're already intersecting between SEO professionals and PR, and especially with like digital PR more of emerging away from less traditional efforts are still very applicable, but backlinking is really where SEO and PR really cross over, and that's a line that needs to be discussed, who's doing what roles there.
Excellent. That's a great segue into sort of our first segment here, which is a little bit about the history of search and digital public relations. So do you want to like define some of those terms for us and kind of get us moving in the right direction?
Yeah, so digital PR I would define as online earned media. So if it was an in-person TV segment, if there's a video attached to that, that'd be digital PR, even if it started with more traditional efforts. Having blogs or thought leadership content pieces that are linking back to your website or linking back to people's bios, that is earned media digitally, digital PR there. So, and that really crosses over with SEO because while at BlackTruck, we don't provide PR services, uniquely, half of our staff probably does come from a public relations background. But we are always keeping an eye out on our clients' industry. So, it's not uncommon for us to send any like PR queries that would align with our clients' mission or expertise to help one, improve their brand authority, which is good for website performance, also good for their own public relations efforts, in hopes to have a backlink that also goes back to supporting us, improving their authority and credibility.
Absolutely. And I think that this helps to sort of break away from that mold of where everybody thinks PR is only publicity, right?
Mhm.
And we're really looking in marketing at integrated ways to like improve client and customer performance. And this is just one more of those sort of like tools in the toolbox that Jason's always kind of talking about, which is to say, paid efforts, shared efforts, earned efforts, owned efforts, all working toward the same client goal. And while we're not necessarily like an integrated firm in that way where we provide all the services to all the people, right? We
Mhm.
definitely are trying to make sure that we have value add. And I do think that that's where that comes into play and where we can sort of flex our employees, greatest strengths too. So we kind of have a bunch of Swiss Army knives running around in our office, and this does lend to that. But thinking about back to your presentation at the conference, when PR people like who like PR recovery, right? They're in a 10-step program or a 12-step program. What did you think, like, what did that say to you when you saw sort of the overwhelmingness of like already people had sort of like this baseline that you could sort of contribute to and then raise up? How did you feel about that and how was it received?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Like it was way more people than I was expecting to have like already that knowledge and experience of PR or already like very involved. And that's a great sign too that the brands, whether they're in agency life or working in-house, that their brands are doing the right thing to maximize their authority in the search space. Um, Sorry, my cat distracted me.
Oh,
Oh, the other
we love
thing I
our
was
furry
gonna
friends at
say,
BlackTruck.
yeah. Before my assistant interrupted, what I was going to say was, one person was talking to me after the conference concluded, and she was saying one of her current pain points is trying to convince their leadership or C-suite team the value of integrating them. Like they just want to do traditional old school PR and they don't even see the value of having like digital resources and like not really prioritizing the website. But it like in the year 2025, like it has been this case, like let's say the past decade, like you need to be everywhere. That's applicable to your brand, and search is applicable to every brand, unless you are only taking calls over the phone, which is not the case for most
Right,
businesses.
right. In your presentation, you talked a little bit about like the two-way street, SEO, and public relations. Will you kind of recoup that a little bit for our listeners?
Yeah.
Where you're talking a little bit about like PR equals the strategy for trust signals, et cetera. Can you kind of go through that just a little bit?
Yeah, essentially PR and SEO, we have the same goal, right? We're trying to meet the right people that are relevant to our brand or our client and make it a mutually beneficial. So whether we're informing people, selling something, solving problems, the customers and the target audience on the other end are also like receiving factual, authoritative, credible, trustworthy information. So that's really where PR and SEO intersect because SEO professionals abide by Google's quality rater guidelines and EEAT, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, which is kind of it intersects. Like there's no true grading scale. And with public relations background, everything PR teams are doing is to improve a brand's authority, trustworthiness. They're big on transparency, hearing their audience, taking that feedback back inside to make changes internally as a brand.
So not only using sort of like strategy to push messaging, but really listening back and
Actively
understanding.
listening, yes,
Mhm.
and making changes and adapting. And same with websites too. Like if we're getting feedback on, oh, this area of the website is very not user friendly, or I happen to notice this link was broken and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and I noted a little bit when I was going through your slides that I thought it was interesting, and I hadn't made this connection before, but both SEO and public relations sort of suffer from the same sort of reputation problem, which is, like spin and manipulation of people or search or things or content. And that sort of like it's kind of an interesting, I don't know, it brings together two interesting areas that are sort of negative, but really they rely on each other and create this very positive thing, which will lead us kind of to what we wanted to talk a little bit about next, which is the risk of not making sure that those things align and that we're maybe ignoring portions of like earned media efforts when we really should be embracing those. So do you want to talk a little bit about maybe the risk of not aligning those efforts?
Definitely. So in our current climate today, it's more important now than ever that all users have access to authoritative and factual information, and it's visible to the public physically and online, especially. And what happens when brands get that wrong is they might have to experience a PR crisis and really have to do a lot of expensive work to repair their damage to the reputation and to repair that trust with their customer and audience base, which of course impacts sales and impacts absolutely everybody at a brand and company. An example of this that came to mind of what it was basically an advertising issue, but again, like all parts of marketing, all efforts should be unified in an approach. So the infamous Pepsi commercial back in 2017, where Kendall Jenner is attending a peaceful protest and she walks to the front lines to the police officers and hands them a Pepsi to create peace and solve any injustice issues. It fell flat quickly, to no surprise, immediately was faced with backlash online. The brand immediately pulled it from their campaigns. They apologized, but there, as a PR response, like it was a solid response. I think they could have doubled down on their stance a bit more, but from an SEO lens, they didn't have anything on their website speaking to it. Like if you as a brand are saying we support these issues, this is what we care about, this mission and this cause, don't be shy about it. Like be transparent. Here's the things that we're donating to, and this is how we're educating our people internally as a brand. And then your public relations efforts are just amplifying that message of the work that is being done.
And so the risks of ignoring that, pretty grave, honestly, right? I mean, it could trigger a whole different intent, not to like use an SEO term there, but when you're thinking about making those decisions and if you're discussing true integration, like that never would have happened had a PR person maybe been at the table, or maybe they were and they weren't consulted until like the nth hour or something of that nature. And having the ability to have those folks all at the table is super important, as you've outlined.
Yeah.
Who's doing it right?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say brands like Ben and Jerry's or Patagonia make it very obvious and transparent what they care about, what your money as a consumer is going towards when you make a purchase from them and what they stand by. It's reflected in the resources they have. They not only are selling products online or in stores, but they're also prompting their audience to get involved, and they have links to third-party sites and resources. And that's integrated on their messaging on social media to what's going out to newsletters. It's very succinct and unified across departments between advertising, PR, and what's going on the website with SEO. So it's important that everyone in a different department has a seat at the table to be in the loop and in the know on what messages we're sharing. Done right, the content should show a brand's real commitment, and they should have content that reflects and validates their stance, and make sure that they have resources that are searchable, that are factual, so people can trust, which we might just call doing the right thing and having integrity.
Right? If only it were that simple, Delaney.
Mm.
So when you're thinking about PR and SEO working together to amplify any message or strategy that you might have, what are some of the signals for that? Like, what are we looking at? Like, what is the manifestation of those things? We talked a little earlier about backlinks. I'm sure that will play into this, but do you want to talk about that just a smidge?
Yeah, I would say your about page is super crucial when it comes to this information. Who are you as a brand? Who are you involved with? Who are your partners? Or who do you get your funding from? Do you guys do any work in your community? Speak to credentials and your authority in your industry, whether it's awards or you have people who are thought leaders in your space. Backlinkings, especially if you have individual employee bios, making sure that you can link to any articles they've written for industry publications and journals, and vice versa. Hopefully those articles can link back to their profile or maybe their individual LinkedIn. But in addition to the about page having awards, certifications, any industry credential criteria, case studies are also huge when it comes to EEAT, because we're showing a third party's opinion, whether it's just how we provide a service, and maybe we have a quote from the client at the end of a successful partnership, or it's testimonies and reviews about a service or product. That is becoming increasingly more important in search as the algorithms are favoring user-generated content, and people don't just want to see you have a pretty website. They want to see, oh, real people have shopped here, and it's a vetted, credible source.
Yeah, so the mutual benefit between these two things working together seems to be pretty straightforward, in my opinion. Is that how you feel too?
I do feel that way, but I'm sure it's crystal clear to everybody.
Right. So when you're thinking about turning maybe, let's say we have something for public relations that we want to pitch to media. We create and obtain a piece of earned media in that publicity sort of area that we were talking about earlier. What does
Mhm.
that look like for us on our website or through search? Like what are we trying to gain there besides a backlink? Like what does that do for us actually?
So, after we've landed a successful piece of earned media, that link is informing the search engines, whether it's Google or Bing or Yahoo search or Yandex, but it's giving more credibility. I wish I could speak to the more technicality of what the search engines are doing, but it's adding more weight and credibility, which is going to help bring your results higher in search.
Sure. And so, like, understanding a little bit more about how those things play nice together might also give you additional strategy for your public relations folks, right? Because maybe we want to rank higher for certain things, or maybe we want to do, we want that to improve in our SERP. Um, when you're thinking about, let's go back to like a press release and a pitch, since that's kind of the example that we're working through right now. But if you look
Mhm.
at like press release as a tool for public relations to gain the interest of journalists, and we're looking at stories and relative key terms, et cetera, what can we do, I guess, to make sure that we are better equipping journalists to help us in that, right? So that we're utilizing that earned media to help actually do what we want it to do and not just have it like be a mystery or willy-nilly or something, right? But we actually have like a strategy behind it. What can we do to improve those types of interactions or engagements with journalists?
Yeah, that's a great question on closing the loop because your PR team knows how to write well. Like a press release is incredibly well written. It might not be searchable though without
Mm-hmm.
that collaboration. So, and the purpose of the press release is at the end of the day to land in a publication, whether it's in print or digitally. But we do just want to make sure the language being spoken to in the press release can be translated to what is the target audience then going to search for more information or to make an action about this. So include links back to your website, not just one link though. And we also don't want to overwhelm. So I would say like the sweet spot is like two, maybe to four. Not getting too cluttered. Obviously, like if we're promoting event, link to the event landing page, link to the ticket page. If there's an FAQ page on a separate page, maybe you link to that as well. If we're promoting like a new product or maybe it's a venue, we're linking to other relevant details for users to get answers on. One press release I reviewed recently was promoting a resort, and we missed an opportunity to link to the other amenities available at the resort. Because once you're there, let's also show, well, you're going to be here a few days, join the spa. Here's restaurants to also visit on our property. The other thing that's most important to shout out is the boilerplate. I feel like that's an easily forgotten area. And obviously, it's very important to speak properly about the brand, but that is certainly where you want to be using the terms people are actually going to go and search for. So how do people refer to your brand name? Is it 16 words and it actually goes by an acronym that you didn't mention in there? Or is your service really technical and people actually use a different term for it? Make sure you're using that language.
So for all the non-PR people out there that might just dabble in marketing and think of public relations as one of the P's in marketing, boilerplate is what, Delaney?
The business descriptions, like your
Hmm.
business bio of like, we're BlackTruck, we've been around for 15
Hmm.
years. We provide search engine marketing
Hmm.
services to clients in our neighborhood and beyond nationally.
Yeah, and we get to control that. That's one of the best things about that for our clients too, right? Is that like it's already at the made. That's gonna sometimes that gets just copy and pasted, just kind of like the press release, unfortunately, sometimes where you
Mhm.
can kind of like make sure that you have the keywords and terms that we want, right? Looking at it like almost like a blog.
Yeah.
But like a tool that if someone were to copy and paste that, then we actually would get maybe some more of that benefit because we we authored it. And that's not how it always works, but as newsrooms get reduced, I can definitely see that increasing. And I'm sure you have noted that too in your career.
Yeah.
Um,
And I would also just add to that boilerplate should always have a link back to the root of your domain, the home page.
Absolutely.
So if you are scarce on internal links in the press release itself, the boilerplate is the perfect spot to include some.
Absolutely. Great point. You in your presentation talked a little bit about how like um it is like really a team effort and that either one of them might have the ability to deliver in a moment, but it's not sort of closing that loop as you alluded to earlier until like all of these things sort of work. So with that in mind, and I know that you talked a little bit in your presentation regarding landing pages for PR campaigns and outreach. Why does that matter? Like, who cares about that?
Well, we care about tracking success. Like at the end of our campaign efforts, you're going to be asked, well, how did we do? Like, was it successful? Are we going to do this again? What did we succeed in and what could we have improved on? So by creating a landing page, you can filter out specific traffic. Like, let's say, um, this is the landing page for our press release that it's going to. So we can track, we can easily see the press release was first landed on this site on this day. It corresponds with a huge rise in direct traffic links. And then we could also see like people who went and did later searches afterwards from organic traffic. So maybe they were informed from an earned media piece or TV segment, and then later went back and found more information online. Also, if we had specific conversions, like for an event, whether it's like buying ticket sales, we can really nail down on the success of, yes, these users came from our PR and digital advertising efforts.
And wow, we really do love a measurable result in public relations. I'm not
Better
gonna
than
lie.
our estimated impressions. Yep.
So not every time you have obviously a media mentioned or earned media, do you get sort of like the privilege of all of these other things that we're discussing.
Mhm.
So if we wanted to integrate these into like maybe our campaign strategies for SEO or SEM, what types of things should we be looking at? I know that there's like platforms out there, like if your firm is not public relations centric or you're not working with a PR firm, what are some things that marketing folks can do or SEO folks can do to kind of like, loosely maybe tie to or integrate this into their practice? You had some examples within your presentation I'd love for you to share.
Yes. Even if we've landed earned media, we're not always guaranteed a backlink. Gold star if we do on the first try. I do say it's always worth making an ask as a follow-up. Thanks so much for sharing our news and sharing our update. Would it be possible at all for us to add a link to this in that body copy? Don't be pushy. I would say preserve your relationship above anything else. It's already a huge win that your brand is mentioned on a third party, credible, authoritative website. But what we do is set up Google alerts through Google. You can set up different terms. So we'll use like our clients' abbreviated names or just their industry that they're in to get our internal research, the brand name, any thought leaders there. So then we can see if there is any earned media that comes in. We don't have a link. We can use that as an opportunity for link building. But other platforms like Quoted or Source of Sources or HOAR, which I'm not gonna pronounce that one. Help out a reporter is that new abbreviation. But anyways, all of these sites are basically reporters can go and make requests from subject matter experts. And it's an opportunity for us to say, oh, that very much aligns with us. We have Bob who can speak to XYZ. Let's try and get a response to this reporter, and hopefully we'll get a piece of earned media.
So when we're thinking about interactions with members of the media and monitoring Do you feel like this is now outside of the scope of SEO, SEM? Do you feel like we should make this, at least tangential to what we do so that we're not leaving sort of this like, I don't know, low-lying fruit out there that we're not capitalizing on? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I do recognize we're kind of getting in the gray
Yeah,
areas.
yeah.
Again, in our case, we don't provide PR services, but we'll send along opportunities for our clients to respond on their behalf.
Hmm.
Or if they have an internal PR team, most of the time they've already captured those things.
Sure.
But how you can be most successful and prepared for these opportunities is by reflecting on your brand's industry subject matters and then building out your content calendar to include your subject matter experts. That is great content to constantly be cycling through over the calendar year. And then when an opportunity does arise, you're not kind of like trying to hunt down the right person to speak to what that's already documented. Maybe you already have some information to pull and quickly send that over for a very timely response too.
Got it. And so I don't want to go too far into your presentation with like your case studies. We'll kind of leave that for the webinar that we're creating that we can attach to this podcast later. But do you want to maybe give a quick overview of where you've seen this and for clients, maybe we could just like mention the industry that they're in so that we're not giving away the whole shebang here. But can you think of a couple of times where you've seen this like recently in action where it's benefited maybe one of our brands or you've seen it out in the wild with another brand?
Yes. So, a resort, in Michigan was doing some public relations efforts, to experience a sports themed room for a local loved sports team. We'll keep it vague.
There's always next year.
Yeah. But so PR team was doing a fantastic job announcing the press release. It
Mhm.
included internal links going back to it. And then SEO efforts were also going on, but they were going on parallel tracks. So they weren't necessarily working on collaborative teams. So while it was a very successful, so what we saw from the SEO perspective is boom, this date we had a huge jump. Oh, that's when the first press release went out announcing the sports partnership between a resort and the sports team. We saw another ginormous spike when they announced the themed suite room. So we're getting more users involved and engaged on the website, entered to win a free stay. Huge spikes from referrals, direct and organic traffic. What else? They also had a podcast episode with some former athletes from the professional sports team. They cross-posted the podcast over on their YouTube channel, which did even better numbers. So like we're seeing the metrics off the charts from SEO. Even though we weren't working in tandem, SEOs are able to like better explain the specific traffic and success of this instead of saying, oh, like we got this many estimated views on social media. What did that actually transfer to? It led to this many people applying, engaging with the web page, this many people entered to win. And then on their user journey, they also checked out these other amenities on the website.
Okay, so you brought something up that I know a lot of people struggle with, and that's silos.
Mm,
And so in terms of, I don't think you can necessarily 100% avoid these types of situations, but you can work to make them better within your team and create better outcomes too. So like what's some advice that you have maybe for SEOs that aren't dabbling sort of in public relations, that maybe aren't doing some of these things, but that they could then connect with the efforts of their clients and maybe that client's PR team, because sometimes, they might be using an external team even. And so we're not like playing all together at the same time on the same surface necessarily. So what are some of those like, I don't know, what are some ways that we can work to break down those silos so that we have created a better opportunity for our clients with all people involved? I mean, we're all in the same team, right?
right. I would say start with the basics. Normally when you come onto a team, like if they're siloed, that's already in existence when a marketing team comes into the picture, and we're working with PR. So they already have their goals and objectives probably outlined somewhere. Let's just regroup and confirm from the ground level. Are we all in agreement on what our mission and goals are? And we're synced up on any timelines. It's very important because it does impact and trickle down to other areas. If PR is planning to launch their campaign on this day, make sure that landing page has been optimized before, because organically it's going to need at least 30 days for the search engines to rank, crawl, and index it properly. So might as well give it the most advantage of getting maximum visibility when that piece is launched and we're getting earned media, hopefully. We can typically get buy-in by saying a lot of the data that we do have access to, because C-suite executives, they want the numbers, they want to see the data, they want to see the money. So if you are currently like struggling to get buy-in, speak to that lens of like, we don't want to be duplicating any efforts and losing out on the success of our efforts at the same time. So it's better to work together, offer new or different ways to measure the success of our efforts is a good, compelling argument. And let your PR team know how you can collaborate with them. They might not know what it means to optimize a landing page. We do want to compliment that they're exceptional writers, so we're by no means trying to say it's bad. It just can be more searchable and more visible with just some fine tuning. Like we're talking the headline structure. Probably keywords are already sprinkled without, but maybe we'll review the metadata and the schema on the page as well. Other areas is tracking the performance together, making sure that we're aligned on those key events and conversions to be tracking, and sharing feedback with each other, like especially PR monitoring social media, like tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll make changes on the website to reflect that, to make sure that performance is, again, benefiting this mutual relationship with our target audience.
All right, so let's kind of bring some of this full circle here. Let's do a quick wrap up and then we'll do some final thoughts on this. We have the same goals. We all play for the same team is the first thing I'm thinking about, right? The second one that you pointed out was that SEO can amplify a PR win. And so that's a natural place to like pull people together to help, I guess, take down some of those silos. And then, I mean, PR is people-based, right? And SEO is more search engine related, where I don't want to say we're talking to robots because we're not really doing that, but we are informing large language models. We are informing algorithmic search. Like there's lots of things out there that PR does inform, whether we care to admit it or not, right? Depending on what camp you fall into. And then what I like that you said about user-generated content being like an untapped gold mine, I think that that's a really strategic way for these two, and as you say, build a bridge, not create a silo, right? Not make it more separated than need be, but really bringing everyone together on the strategy. This helps save time, money, I mean, all the resources, right? So it's kind of a no-brainer. But is there anything else that you can think of that might be a last sort of tip that you might want to leave with folks, or another word of encouragement, since you're always like at the ready with advice all the time, I feel like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would say right now the biggest change is AI in tandem with the search landscape also changing. Both. So like we have AI now entering the chat of our search appearance landscape. But it also dovetails right back to digital PR. So you'll see Reddit threads and what maybe it was quoted that I was looking at today with a specific question that I had. Google understands that we want to hear from humans, not the AI overview also, but we want to see like real people who experience the same problem, what they had to say about it. And even your brand's Google business profile is now being linked to your social media accounts. That's a new update in the past year. The search engine results pages are even pulling user-generated content, like TikTok is showing up. We already had YouTube videos for years showing up in search results, but now it's almost like social media is also merging here. And even though the SERP landscape is changing, like, yes, certain people are taking searches to TikTok and Instagram, the search landscape from SEO has not changed. Like, Google's not disappearing. It's just a difference in purpose there. But bringing it back together here, the most important thing is just understanding the main point of we want to come together and amplify our brand's voice authentically. We want to make sure all of our content is discoverable, meets the right audience through aligned strategies, and we want to hit every single channel that we can. And that's really why we need PR, comms, and marketing to all be in sync.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing today about your experience and your personal journey. And I look forward to that webinar that we're going to release on our website pretty soon here about that very same presentation. So really appreciate your time today, Delaney.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for asking questions.
You're welcome. And so you just heard from Delaney MacKenzie, from headlines to SERPs, the intersection of PR and SEO. You can learn more about our podcast, The Redirect, on blacktruckmedia.com and anywhere else that you are served up your podcast. So don't forget to subscribe. And we will also be dropping in our show notes and on our website at some point here in the next couple of weeks after you've heard this, a webinar from Women in Tech SEO in Portland, and then also a couple of blogs that will support this for more information. So if you ever need us, you can just head over to blacktruckmedia.com, fill out our form there, and be connected with somebody that can assist you in your journey. But thanks again, Delaney, for joining us today,
Thank you.
and we'll talk to you soon.